All right, we are here with the athletic director at Kilgore College, Dr. Courtney Pruitt. Dr. Pruitt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad we got you on today because earlier this week, the National Junior College Athletic Association, they decided to elevate women's flag football to championship sports status, making an official NJCAA sport beginning next season. You were an
Mhm.
integral part in that, serving as the chair on the women's flag football sports committee. So tell me a little bit about that process. How long has this been in the works to get this to the junior college level and kind of what was all that process like?
Well, last year I actually sat on the NJCAA flag football committee, and I was just the chair. I mean, not the chair, but I was just a committee member. And so this year I kind of got a promotion, if you will, to being the chair. And so something that we talked about in our committee meetings was that we wanted to elevate this sport. Number one, because it had become one of the fastest growing sports, and we wanted something to offer more female student athletes. And this gave them an opportunity who they may not have been considering playing a sport in college, but they would now have an opportunity with flag football. So we worked diligently. The committee members did an awesome job. They really, hammered after it because if you look at the 50 states, a lot of schools have also adopted flag football in the high school areas levels, excuse me. And so we wanted to have an opportunity for them to play at the next level. So, the committee members are scattered around different states. And so we just worked, day and night to just make sure that this was something that we could transition with the number of teams that wanted to join with the NJCAA in order to make it a championship sport. So actually this year we had about 15 teams compete. And then next year that number will grow to 32 teams. And actually it'll be over 40 for the actual championship year of 27-28.
Why do you think it's grown so rapidly? Like you said, it's doubled in just 1 year. So why, in your opinion, what do you think the reason is for the growth of women's flag football?
You know, as a young girl growing up in East Texas, I've loved football, but you were always told, "Oh, you can't play." So your options were really limited. You had volleyball, you had basketball, and softball, and track and field, of course. So I think that it's been something that girls have always wanted to do, but they were never given the opportunity. If you look at how women's athletics has grown in basketball, I think that it just took off the same way. I also believe because flag football is a Olympic sport coming up for the 2028, Olympics in LA. I think that's also a big part of it. But, just the buy-in from it, everybody loves football. And for it to be, you can, kind of showcase women's athleticism on that level. I think that's why it took off, to be honest. It's exciting to watch.
It is. It is. And any form of football is exciting to watch to me. Like I
Absolutely.
I just love to see and really just seeing anybody compete, like just competing against somebody else. Like just
Hmm.
competition is awesome to see. I noticed in the press release that it was said that there hasn't been a decision made regarding women's flag football at Kilgore College
Right.
specifically. I know you maybe haven't gotten like an official, interest or whatever, but just gauging by who you've talked to, what is the interest level of women's flag football at Kilgore College?
I think there's a huge interest level for it. Actually, one of our assistant coaches, she plays in the women's league in Tyler, and she was actually the MVP of that league. Our women's assistant basketball coach, Coach Brianna Brooks. And so, she was, I don't remember their team's name. I'm going blank, but, there's a huge interest in it. You have different leagues popping up, whether it be a youth league or a women's league. So I know there's a huge interest in it here in Kilgore. And so we're just waiting, timing is everything. And so we're just waiting until that opportunity presents itself. But it would be exciting if we could get flag football here at Kilgore College.
What would that look like? I know we're speaking kind of in hypotheticals right now
Right.
down the road, but what would that look like bringing a women's flag football team? Would you play it, RE St. John where the men play?
Mhm.
Where would the facilities be? How would that look at Kilgore College?
Potentially, if we were to be able to start flag football, we would play at RE St. John here, because that's where our football team plays, but also because it's local and we want to give, student athletes who aspire the opportunity to come out and watch and, be a part of something great and have something great in our community. Also, flag is for women is played in the spring. So it's offset from actual football season. So there's still football year round. And for a fan, that's also, a big thing. But that would be our facility that we would use. We have, opportunities here on campus that we could potentially look at, but that is not my decision. And I leave that to our president. She has a great vision, and so she's done a great job. So I know that when the time is right, that will be considered.
As a woman in a prominent position, how important do you feel like it is to have a woman spearheading this project? Because I know, a male could get up there and kind of spearhead for women's flag football, but it doesn't just
Right.
hit the same. So how important do you think it is to have a woman spearheading this project like yourself?
I think that's very important simply because that gives young women an opportunity to see that there are other opportunities to work in athletics or work in sports, if you will, outside of just being an athlete. You can work in the business office and do the business side of sports, or you can work in the administrative side. So I think that's important for them to see. I also think it's important for them to see how you can start something kind of a grassroots initiative and build it from the ground up and make it something to where outside of just playing a sport, you have opportunities for education, you have opportunities to grow as a young woman, and then just evolve and give back in that way. So I think that's important for young women to see.
Well, now, with these, again, speaking of hypotheticals, should this
Yes.
go forward and everything at Kilgore College, would there be opportunities for scholarships for that as well, just like any other sport?
Absolutely. I mean, our athletic department is funded well. Our board of trustees and our president do a great job of making sure that they have the opportunity to receive a scholarship if that's what they would like to do. So I think that would be a possibility in the future for scholarships to be available for student athletes who, if they want to take that route, they can.
Do you know of any girls that are at your college right now that are playing in these other leagues or maybe I know it's an invitational. There's a women's flag football invitational that's the final year of it is this year. Do you have any athletes at Kilgore that are playing in that currently?
Not that I know of. Currently we have softball and women's basketball players, but none of them at this time that I know of are playing in any extension leagues that I've heard about.
Well, maybe they're getting some practice before you
That's
bring
it.
it to Kilgore.
They may not be telling us. They may
Th-
not want to tell us.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Dr. Pruitt, I want to get to know you a little better. You
Sure.
were named the Kilgore College Athletic Director, I believe, in 2022. And at that time, you became the first Black woman to be the female athletic director at Kilgore College. When when that achievement happened there, how important was that to you, and how much of a responsibility do you feel like you maybe hold to help foster interest in maybe younger Black women that are trying to maybe get in that same position that you're in?
It's definitely a pride taken in being named the first African American woman to be the athletic director, but also just to my career, my trajectory that I took from starting out as a collegiate coach, as an assistant, and growing into a head coach. Um, you know, I love the path that I took. And to be able to come home and serve in my community and serve in, where I grew up at and where I took, some extra classes at has been phenomenal. And for me to be sort of a role model, if you will, for young women aspiring to work in athletics one day has been a dream come true. I couldn't have, I don't know what I did for God to bless me tremendously to be in this position, but I'm very thankful for it. And it's something that I take very seriously in my leadership. And I want to make sure that every day that I wake up, that I leave the Kilgore College Athletic Department better off than I found it.
I love that. I love that. And
Thank
before
you.
Kilgore College, you were inducted into the Red River Athletic Conference Hall of Fame in 2020 because you left Wiley College, now Wiley University. But at the time, Wiley College, you were the all-time winningest coach there for women's basketball. So, talk to me about that time there at Wiley University and being inducted into the Red River Hall of Fame.
Um, you know what? Being inducted was so special to me. It was kind of a bummer in a way because at the time COVID was going on. So there was no actual ceremony for it. You just knew that you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, but just being inducted and to be able to say that I am a Hall of Famer as a coach is a blessing, and it's something that a lot of work, hard work, and time went into just working with those young women. That was a special time at Wiley College, and it's something that I do not take for granted. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I still keep in touch with those student athletes, and they have gone on to be very successful teachers and lawyers and doctors in the world, contributing to society now. So it's something that I'm very thankful for, and it's a great experience that I have. And I always have a special place in my heart for Wiley College or Wiley University. I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, when you were there, it was Wiley College.
Yeah,
I think you're still right, but I messed up one day and called it Wiley College, and I had somebody reach out and say it's Wiley University, and I said,
right,
that's my bad,
right.
that's my bad.
Got to get it right.
Yeah, but you mentioned something there that kind of made me think about something. You mentioned seeing these ladies go on to be doctors, lawyers, what have you, out in the world.
Mhm.
How rewarding is it for you as a coach and as athletic director now to not just see these young ladies and young athletes succeed on the court or what have you, but then succeed in real life, if you will, out in the workplace? How rewarding is that for you?
I mean, that's the ultimate reward. And when you first sit down and you start recruiting these young ladies and you meet with their parents and you do the home visits, that's what you tell them, that's what I'm here for. Yes, we want to be successful on the court and we're going to make sure that your child graduates from college with a degree. But the ultimate, goal is to make sure that when they get into life, they're going to be successful. And so that's one thing that, yes, winning is a part of it, but I think winning comes naturally when your focus is the individual, when your focus is the student athlete. And that's something that we really promote here at Kilgore College is we want to make sure that we are developing a person, a high character individual that will go out into society. And that helps with the competitiveness on the playing surface. That helps in the classroom to make sure that we're academically sound. But the main purpose is to make sure that this student goes into life and is a successful human being.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talked a little bit before we came on here. Proud Longview Lobo, you
Yeah.
graduate of Longview High School. You mentioned too coming home when you came back to Kilgore College, just kind of the surrounding area. But tell me about your time at Longview and what it means to you to be a Lobo.
Uh, it's it, I bleed green. God rest his soul, Tommy Aldrich. I had the opportunity to play for a legend coach. He actually started the girls basketball program at Longview High School, and just being able to learn from somebody as knowledgeable as him was a blessing. But just being at Longview High School and to see how they've grown and to see how they've really invested into the students with their new buildings that they're building and with their new athletic facilities and possibly naming a facility after Trent Williams. That's exciting. Rooting for Coach King. He had a scary moment there, but he's really battled back. And, I'm rooting for the Lobo football team. And I'm always going to be a Lady Lobo at heart. And I want them to be successful. And they've been doing great. So just want the tradition and the Lobo pride to always continue and root for my hometown team.
Do you get to make it out to in many Lobo games?
Sometimes it kind of interferes with what we have going on here, but whenever I can I always make it out. I'm kind of dating myself, but this year is our 25th high school anniversary, so I hope to make it to that. But at the same time we have Hall of Fame weekend going on, so it kind of conflicts, but anytime that I can make it out to a Longview Lobo game I always try to.
Well, and maybe you might just look at the halls of Longview High School for some women's flag football players to come to Kilgore College.
Yes, yes, we can just transition them. It's an easy transfer process.
That's right. That's right. It's right down the road. Hey,
Yes.
Dr. Pruitt, thank you so much for taking time and talking to us today and giving us a little more information about this. I'm excited for it and hope to see it come to Kilgore College soon. And
Yes.
maybe we'll get out there and be able to see some games.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Pruitt.